Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nathan Cudgel here. Now, I've always had a deep sympathy for the failed criminals of the world. The people who try so hard, but can't even succeed at crime. Now, of course, I'm not talking about the criminals who got caught. I'm talking about the criminals who didn't even really get to start their criminal career in the first place. They were so incompetent. It's kind of like when a dog gets into something it knows it shouldn't, and then you catch it with a bread roll in its mouth, just staring at you with the biggest deer in the headlights eyes ever. The dog knows it messed up, feels guilty, then the dog just looks at you, it drops the bread roll, and it scampers off, tail down between its legs, and goes and hides for a couple hours, in pure guilt and shame. Or maybe that was just my dog. Although regardless, it's hard not to have some sympathy for that. And today we're going to be discussing a story of Alan Slattery. He's a 67-year-old retiree who, after all this time, after all these many years of working and life, it doesn't mention if he has a family or not. I like to imagine he did. It makes the story a little more juicy. After all this time, he's decided to turn to a life of crime. Slattery robbed 3 banks within 2 weeks. Or, well, let me correct myself, tried to rob 3 banks.
All right, put the money in the bag. Put it in!
He was only kinda successful with 2 of them, with the first one being an absolute failure. You see, at 10:45 a.m. on March 18th, 2021, Alan tried to rob his first bank. He walked in, I assume with the utmost confidence, and just like you always imagine in the movies, he pulls a little note out of his pocket and hands it to the cashier. He stands there anxious but not letting it show. The clerk reads the note. She must be trembling in fear. And then Alan stands there and waits and waits and waits. Sir, I can't read this note. Now, it doesn't say she actually said that. It doesn't even actually detail the interaction very much, other than that Alan Slattery gave the clerk a piece of paper saying, "Your screen won't stop what I've got, just hand over the 10s and the 20s, think about the other customers." Which, in all fairness, is a pretty menacing note, although it's kind of negated by the fact that the clerk could not read his horrible handwriting. This is why you stay in school. Not so you can get an actual real, good paying job, but so at least when you finally do turn to a life of criminality, you can at least be semi-successful. I assume after the clerk read it and nothing really happened, Alan kind of realized what happened and walked off and rethought his actions. Now it's at this point, he's kind of at a crossroad. He got off scot-free on the first robbery. Sure, it wasn't successful, but he's a free man still. Is this really worth continuing? Well, Alan came to the conclusion that yes it was. About 8 days later, on March 26th, Alan entered another bank, handed the cashier a threatening letter, and she was actually able to read it this time and promptly handed over £2,400. Now, £2,400 is like roughly $3,000 USD. Now, don't get me wrong, you can do a lot with $3,000. You could buy a new computer, you could buy a broken down car, you could buy roughly 4 Xbox games about. You can do quite a bit with that money, but it's not enough to risk your life over. Risking your life in that you could get shot during the robbery, and risking your life in that you could go to prison for many years. But you know what? Alan thought that all over. He got this money. Maybe he was able to pay for another month's rent. He was able to get some food. Or maybe he just went to the strip club. I guess we'll never know. But Alan was not done, because he'd gotten a taste of thrill. And roughly 5 days later, on April 1st, April Fool's Day, he robbed another bank. Staff at the bank reported a man entering the branch and handing over a threatening note demanding money. The cashier challenged the man, who then left empty-handed. So this guy's track record is first bank robbery, the cashier can't read his note, and so he just gives up and leaves. The second bank robbery, she's able to read his note and gives over roughly $3,000. The third note, the cashier is able to read, tells Alan, "No, you're not getting any money," and Alan just turns around and leaves. But hey, 1 and 2 is not bad, right? Unfortunately, this absolute mastermind career criminal will not be on the streets to rob any more banks anytime soon. After his last bank robbery, the police caught up to him and arrested him. And I want to point out that his outfit in the bank is not exactly the most concealing. Now, I get right now is one of the few times you can walk into a bank wearing a mask and not have everyone freak out, but he could at least, I don't know, throw on a ball cap, maybe even some sunglasses, or even just like some fake glasses. I've always thought if I were to rob a bank, I'd actually go get one of those professional wigs. I mean, especially for this guy, he's already bald, he can get a wig on there pretty easily. There's so much more he could have done to hide his identity other than just a coat and a mask. Ultimately though, Slattery pleaded guilty to all 3 offenses and was given a 6-year extended sentence consisting of 4 years in custody and 2 years on license. I think we all can learn from Alan Slattery. What can we learn? Have good handwriting. It might just save you 6 years in prison. Anyways though, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, bye.